Now, today marks the 127th International Workers' Day, also known as Labor Day. Workers around the world are taking to the streets to celebrate the occasion and call for better working conditions. In South Korea, workers are marching through the streets of the capital, Seoul. They're protesting against the government's labor reform plans, which give employers greater leeway in dismissing workers. Indonesian workers are also staging a rally in the capital, Jakarta, amid worries about a slowing economy and competition from neighboring countries. Similar rallies are expected in many cities around the world, including Hong Kong, Paris, and Madrid, just to name a few. International Workers' Day is a celebration of laborers and the working class in about 90 countries. It's celebrated every year on May 1st. And for more, we're joined out of Seoul by Frank Smith, Press TV correspondent. Frank, what are the gripes that laborers have? I mean, we know in Eastern Europe, they protest against labor reforms due to austerity. In South America, it's a lot about joblessness and the unemployment rate. And now with Seoul, what are the major gripes that laborers are out on the streets for today in this Labor Day?
Well, you mentioned it. You mentioned this. It was actually a trilateral agreement involving labor representatives, management, and the government that came up with this scheme that enabled corporations to more easily dismiss workers. But labor unionists are looking at that as a way to root out labor activity and dismiss workers on a whim. And they want that legislation struck down now. It's in legislative committee at the South Korean Parliament. They want to see that struck down, and they may be successful in that. What you have in South Korea is a shift in the political winds as the left wing here won recent parliamentary elections and really took control of the parliament. Conservatives were forecast to win that election. So really this is an unexpected development here in South Korea and will no doubt impact any labor relations. Other things they're looking for is a rise in the minimum wage, of course. The minimum wage in South Korea is only $5 an hour. They want to see it go up to $9 an hour and to bring some type of parity or near parity with their lower labor counterparts in the West.
And Frank, this legislation that you mentioned, which allows employers to more easily dismiss their workers, how is this popular with the government? What's the justification they use to propose and pass this legislation?
Well, they suggested that this legislation was necessary because of the sort of recession or risk of recession that South Korea is falling into. Just recently, I think it was for March, the on-year, or for April, this April actually, on-year exports were reduced by 11%. So the sort of global contagion, economic contagion really is catching on here in South Korea. And South Korea is so reliant on exports, especially to China. And we've seen that China's growth is slowing quite drastically. And that's affecting South Korea. And we're also seeing massive youth unemployment, record youth unemployment here in South Korea, and these are also influencing the labor unrest.
And interestingly enough, you said that the protesters may get this legislation shelved. Frank Smith joining us out of Seoul, Press TV correspondent. Thank you.